Saturday morning trading session starts. We have a lot I think will be important to talk about. We'll take a look at the levels here with not just XRP, but looking at Bitcoin, but more precisely, going through the total crypto market cap, the others, and the total three. If you're not familiar with those three, the total is all crypto. It's the total crypto market cap between every single crypto, between memes, Bitcoin, and everything in between. Others is everything outside of the top 10 cryptocurrencies. So, like Ethereum, Bitcoin, XRP would be excluded from this. Um, you would have like, what else is in the top 10? Solana used to be, Chainlink was, USDT, and things like that. Outside of that, it would be the others. So, outside of any of the, the more attainable or talk about tokens, the ones that might not get the same social light. Then you have the others. Total three, which I had to switch it back because the others should have been on the bottom. But the total three is everything outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum. So starting with XRP and the ones around there, but minusing Bitcoin and Ethereum. So that's how you look at this, and you start to see what narrative we're starting to build. Obviously, we had a big fall off yesterday, and it wasn't like it was the craziest fall off, but it was a drop down that brought us down into some serious consideration levels, is the best I can put this. And the reason I say that is because with Bitcoin, it's given us a very decisive and precise setup here where we've got one of two choices here. Either this is a head and shoulders that it's putting in a right shoulder right now in the smaller time frame, and we're going to end up falling back through, or we finally found some stability here. It's a thinly traded weekend, and maybe we could try to find ourselves getting hot. But to be honest with you, if you're looking for a trade, if you're looking for a long-term investment, you've got to wait for some of these. Now that it's come back into the zone, you might as well wait to play it safe now. And that's not a big wait. Let it get back on top of 92,385. Don't put yourself or paint yourself into a corner if you're not comfortable, not confident, or you don't understand exactly what's transpiring throughout this price action, and let it settle. Sometimes it's just good to let things settle. I know from my own personal perspective, I continue to lessen the amount of crypto I hold in variety. And I actually, before that last drop, as you guys know, when it pushed through some levels, it sold out some of my stuff. And now when I rebuy back in, it's not going to be with the veracity that I had. It continues to lessen the amount of different tokens I have. So this time around, again, the emphasis is going to be on algo and XDC for the higher proponents. And, it's going to take, because of the way that this volatility and the way these exchanges are going, I'm not looking to have 5,000 different things. I'm trying to hit every single special point. So, I like Band. Do I hold it at this exact moment? I can't help that when it fell through a certain support, it sold out. I talked about the level. I don't want to talk about it now. I'd rather talk about the information. But I like Band because it's the main oracle for the ledger, for Ripple. The main data oracle that pushes the info from blockchain to the actual. I like it. I don't know where the exact price is going to be, if this is the exact moment, because, we're coming to a zone now where we're significantly oversold in the smaller time frames. But when we look at things in a universal pattern, it looks like we're breaking down in a lot of ways to retest the other levels to see if we have any kind of support structure left. And when I look at it for Band, it's pretty simple. If it does that, we're going to look around 30, it's like 36 cents to see. But with this short-term pattern, I almost want to get rid of this and just let it play through this pattern, because it would suggest maybe 32.7. And that's not just on this chart. That's on a lot of, well, I guess it's a little bit higher. It was a tiny bit higher. You know what? 32, yeah, 35. Okay, well, maybe I should keep it up like that. But it looks like everything's got eyes. I'm very interested in SHX again, but we had a significant run, which is why I'm kind of letting it just do what it's doing. It's under 106. We talked about it when it made the move, when we bought it at 0078. It made a big move up. Like, it was all the way up to 1.4, almost 1.5. Came up, got rejected. When it came up and got rejected, we were layering in and out. But Now, if it gets rejected here, we've got to see if it maintains 1-0. Like this is the key. And I'm going to go through this in a way where we don't just show XRP right away, because I want you to see the build up into XRP, because you can see how we're below these main structural levels. So like for SHX Stronghold, 10821. The fact that it's showing the potential of this flagging out as it does have a small rounding, but it's going to have to retake this level to get you excited, because otherwise we're going to come back down and reset and tap. And that's down at like 008. And my only issue here is we went up, came down, went up, and we never even came down. We didn't test this wick at 0095. Like, that's a problem to me. Although, when you look at it, if you look at it from a 2-hour perspective, you can see how it came back around, pushed up, and then the wick. I mean, technically, I suppose, but it's still going to leave you a small area in there. So there's a lot of different things I'm watching right now. But I'll be honest with you, I would not be pressing myself right now on a thinly traded weekend until I get some kind of directive. I want to see some kind of directive here, because the Asian markets didn't do diddly squat. And that's an eye-opener. On Friday night into Saturday, after that drop we had, I mean, XRP went from the 214, 213, 216, 211, right down to 202, 201. But the Asian markets didn't buy it back up. Like waking up this morning and seeing Bitcoin up 700, I'm like, well, yeah, no. But we did have some blessings this morning, as we're being watched over by our Lord and Savior, Yahweh, Yeshua. We believe, and we also ask for guidance. And all the world stage got his stuff cleared out. Took 30 days to get his funds unfrozen. I highly suggest you get that shit off of BitUnix now, like I've been warning you and everybody else. If it's not a tier 1 exchange and it's not regulated in the USA, you got to dump them. I don't care if the fees are cheaper. It's not worth losing all your money. Okay? So pay the higher fees. I encourage you guys to use KRAKEN Pro. You get $10,000 of trading per month where there is no fee. And then on top of that, I've shown you guys when I traded 300,000 XDC and the small amount of fee there was, a couple dollars. I've shown you when I traded the 100,000 algo and all these other things, and the fees are not too bad. Now, if I would have done it on crypto.com, you're talking about an extra 13%. So, and I know crypto.com has some paid thing, but it's not the same. And the only things that I have on there, I have a couple things on crypto.com, but I'm not selling those because obviously the fees and whatever, but it's neither here nor there. Epic, I can't get on a lot of tier 1 exchanges, so I sent it over to crypto.com, and I'm just letting it sit there. I don't really care what happens in this next zone. And that's just something that's going to have to sit unless I see something else, but there's no other way to do. So anyhow, the whole crypto market is weird. So between this live, yes, we're going to talk about XRP and the fact we are at a make it or break it legitimate zone. And I think we're going to break it. We're not going to make it. We're going to break this shit. We should break it. We want to break it. We don't want to have a push up right now. That's my bottom line. We do not want to make it right now. We want to break it. So just like everything else we talked about, very easy. Like MQ's been on top of this as well. In the Telegram and here in the chats, he keeps talking about how XRP, yes, it's hard to maintain a structure and it's hard to do the technical analysis because there's so many different patterns. But once you understand, it's the easiest, one of the easiest ones to read. You just don't know when it's going to make the eventual move. And this is what we talk about. I talk about it too. So you have many different layers. So on this chart, we identified in the shorter micro that this was going to be a very serious framework here. And that if 211 didn't hold, we were going to come down to 206. In real time, it's about 204. Now it's even lower at 203. We're getting rejected on it right now. And this would be this is your literal macro micro view, because if we don't break past this level, we have to go back into the micro. And this is our short-term potential to get out of this insane micro cluster, which honestly, in the hourly, horrible. The way that it already shot up so much in the stochastic is telling us right now we probably don't have the backing in the higher time frames, but we never know. I'm just saying this is what it's looking like from first exposure. Now you go into the micro, right? So we're in that macro micro view to see if we can get out of this micro structure. and then lead us into better times. Well, we go into the 4 hourly, and because we were forced back into the micro and we weren't able to get outside that macro micro view to start pushing back up into a megaphone style, now it seems to be aiming towards that $1.85 we've been talking about. Well, before we can even get there, we've got to look at the true micro. If we're not getting out of the macro micro view, and I know this is confusing as hell for some, but the more you tune in, I promise, I'm going to break this down in a fashion to where you might pay somebody thousands of dollars a month and you're not going to get to the nuts and bolts. You can watch this for free. If you want to go deeper, eventually I will do a classroom style to where you can join in. It's not part of YouTube. It's not part of the Telegram. It's a different business venture that I'm personally doing because I was offered to become at a brokerage. They sent me some stuff, a couple different ones, to be an analyst and blah, blah, blah. But I decided I can teach and do things on my own. So I'm going to try to secure my son's future because I'm fine for my own living, me and Julie and everything else. But I've got to try to work now as if I'm working another job for my son because he's special needs, and it's becoming quite apparent that he's never going to be able to do certain things. Just that's the way it is. His brain doesn't work that way, and he's autistic, special needs, nonverbal. And he's had serious trauma from terrible accidents where he broke his femur, had just a whole bunch of stuff when he was 6 months old and leading on. So I'm going to take that slack for him. So it was either I become a financial advisor or some kind of analyst, and I've been getting offers. Funny, I got an invite to take this thing for Charles Schwab, and I was like, this is pretty interesting. But anyhow, so I'm going to do that myself, and I'm going to teach the ones who want to teach, who want to do something outside of YouTube. It's going to be completely different than this. We're not going to log into XRP. It's just going to be a whole different venture. And I'm trying to secure my son's future because I'm not going to be around forever. And that's the scariest thought, especially when you have a special needs son or child. So, I got to try to figure it out now. That means I got to work for myself and him, which means now it's going to be a pretty interesting next 13 years from me or so. But anyhow, that's my reasoning. So before we get into this micro version, since we couldn't get outside the macro, let's do the intro. Good morning. 10:26 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Saturday, December 6th, 2025. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. So thanks for sitting through my little spew. I really appreciate it. I don't know what's going on with subscribers on YouTube. I think it's broken. At one point this morning, it showed me when I woke up at 44,000. Then it showed me at 50,000. Hey, I'm serious. It showed me at 44,000. Then it showed me at 50,000. Now it shows me at 49,600. So I don't actually know what's going on. I'm glad I'm not at 44. I thought I lost 3,000 subscribers last night. I was like, holy shit, I must have said something wrong. So I don't know what's going on. But, it's starting to shake out a little bit. But I hate that 12% of you left when I was speaking of my personal stuff. But hey, that's the way it goes. Nobody wants to hear the soul. They just want to hear the real stuff. They just want to know how to make money without having to. Anyhow. So we get into the more of the micro now. After this pattern doesn't allow us to break out, we're just assuming this doesn't allow us to break out. So that's what happened. That's why these two shifted when I was looking at them on my phone for some reason. Nope. Wrong one. This one's supposed to be here and this one's supposed to be here. So now that we can't get outside of this, because if we got outside of this, then all of a sudden we look at the macro now within this micro setting to try to get out of this megaphone. And we don't know if it's bullish or bearish. We're hopeful that it's a bullish megaphone because this would be a super pump if we could hold that $1.85 level on this drop. But a lot of things are suggesting that level. So now we got to get back into the micro. So now that's how this opens up. Now that we're firmly within this part of it, we got rejected at the 200-day and the 3-hourly. 4-hourly came up and it wasn't able to push past. We double topped just below it. And now $1.85 seems to be the sustainable push. And this is on this little channel we're in. And it's suggesting that area. So now, for anybody who wasn't here yesterday, this is the very important part. And I know this stuff isn't sexy. I know I'm not on here and you're coming in saying, oh my God, this guy's not saying it's going up 10,000% like everybody else. That's true. But honestly, when you leave here, you might be scared You might be uneasy. You might have the hunger to learn more because you're like, I've never seen it in this perspective, or I'm not used to somebody teaching or explaining things this way. Or there's so much stuff he's talking about in an hour that how are we supposed to know? That's the point. You got to come back. And then every time we're in the same setup, I will repeat these talking points if I have to for 6 months. Remember the XRP before the breakout in November of 24? How we were in that descending pattern since January of 2018 all the way to November of 24. And what did we keep talking about even through the bull market? We've got a baseline because of the setup. We don't have to guess. We don't have to force ourselves in. We don't have to trick ourselves in the pattern. We just have to maintain a structural flow. Same thing here. We know the macro micro failed. And that's all we needed to know. We needed to know that we weren't going to break up here into this perspective, the 264 right now, and that this macro view of the micro failed. And it was perfect because we knew the resistance, that failed. Tried here, failed. We knew the pattern setup in the micro failed at 203 as of right now. With that failure comes not a stop at $1.98. There's no evidence that it should stop there. Yes, there's a small support at $1.98 and a small support at $1.89 and 92. But this suggests a breakdown from here suggests that we should drop about 8.5%. Just like when we lost 211, I said there's nothing in between that and 204. Now it's 203, but there was nothing in between. That's how this is now. Yeah, you have these micro ones, but I'm sick of looking at all these micro ones. I just like to look at the pattern now. Okay, this breaks down. It's telling us it was a failure, and now it's got to come back down and reset, and hopefully, from every perspective we look at, $1.85 is reaching through the freaking screen right now, isn't it? It's telling us, like, listen, Tom, tell your audience, look at this. Almost like a bump and run pattern. This almost looks like a bump and run in the micro. Well, it's probably not a bump and run. Bearish bump and run at that. Up, down, runs again, crash. And then falls through probably if that's the case. So that's the other part of this. Tom, when should I buy? Don't force it. Because if it breaks down out of this, and the weekly is massively oversold. So we are just waiting for that moment when the monthly meets the weekly and the daily is oversold, when all of this merges together. And it sounds so stupid, but if you're in a perspective, like the daily is what you're looking at for your, hey, after this big rally, should I sell and wait for a big pull back down? But the weekly is when you're trying to get into your positioning, because anything oversold so much in the weekly, if you can find the appropriate spot, and I don't know where the appropriate spot is. A third tap down there would be $1.58 approximately on this exchange, but all the exchanges are different on that October 10th drop. So, but I definitely, like for me, I would be sitting here right now if you have a lot of capital on the side. Like I've got capital on the side and I'm breathing going, okay, Tom, I know you're tempted, but what has it really told you this weekend? Asian market's not interested. It would feel like to me, because of the CFTC acknowledging that they're going to have exchanges for people in the USA that are regulated now, supposedly, this would suggest to me that we have to have a phenomenal crash to allow the liquidity to be built within those exchanges. Think about it. Do you think they want to build their token holdings based on higher pricing or lower pricing? Do you think the ETF helps or hurts this cause? All of this together suggests lower pricing before December 9th into the 10th. I've been very clear. I want to see red until we get to December 9th, the start of the meeting, and ultimately December 10th at about 2:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is my dad's birthday. He'll be 67 on that day. I want to hear them say we're cutting rates by 50 basis points. And he's going to talk about how they ended quantitative tightening. We could have an awe-inspiring rally going into my birthday on the 17th, the week after when I'm 42. The projection would be if we continue to dump here, we have a birthday pump for me between the 10th and the 17th. And then by Christmas, we could get the lump of coal. But that remains to be the fact that I should get a crit. If this goes right, we're set up for a birthday pump for me. Last year, we had the greatest birthday drop on my fucking birthday. It ended the culmination of the big pump from November. And on my birthday, right around 9:10 p.m., it ended in a blaze of glory to the downside. Before we got to the 18th, my birthday was known as Crash Day last year. Even though it culminated with the epic push up, That was when we actually went into exhaustion. We exhausted ourselves. That was the final clamoration, and then the next few days we were down 25, 30%. I'm like, oh man, my birthday was fun for the first half, but by the end of my 41st birthday, we were going, whoa, we need a shot. It was one of those wild rides. Um, but it was an interesting one. But I'm telling you right now, I feel like this weekend is a good weekend to just kind of go, let's take an observation here. Let's observe here this weekend. Um, Oh my God, the Telegram is phenomenal. For anybody not in the Telegram, and I know we haven't got a lot of support this month, it really has been weird. The more I think I'm doing good, the less people join Tom's army, and then the worse I think I'm doing, more people show. So I don't know. It's all about price action, I guess. But I think the Telegram is fire. I think it's fire. Tom, are you open to natural supplements for your son that seem to help me out? Yes, actually, we were supposed to give him poly V and stuff because of his vitamin intake, because he doesn't eat a lot by mouth. He's got a G tube, which is different than most people who have autistic kids and nonverbal and all that. But we actually supplemented out. They gave us poly V, and we realized that was all artificial nutrients, like artificial supplementation. So we found our own, and it's all real herbs. It's all from real herbs. So everything they were giving us, it has all of it and then a little bit more. And he's responded great to it. Even his teachers have said, we don't know what happened exactly at this point. We had conferences a couple weeks ago. They're like, they marked it down. Like, this is when we'd seen the change. And that's exactly when we switched the supplementation from what the doctors were trying to give us. And then when I brought it up to them, to his pediatrician, they go, oh, this is just easier to keep track of. It's like, I don't care what's easier to keep track of. That stuff is shit. That's an artificial compound. I wouldn't feed that to my aunt friend, let alone my kid. So Julie found these particular supplements. She showed me them, and when I started reading through, I'm like, hey, these are what we want. I got a deep knowledge in it. So yeah, I'm very open to it. To be honest with you, firefighting, very open. Um. So yeah, it's set up for a very short 2-week pump into Christmas, then another shot. Absolutely, Cannabis Podcast. I'm seeing that too. But for that to fill out, we need this to continue to pull down. The best thing that could happen for XRP is we shit on everybody and go down 10%, the $1.85. I think everybody would be so confused, so worn out, so just majestically tapped out. All the world stage, no disrespect to you, but I can't support that decision. As somebody who had something stolen from Uphold, well, Julie, my significant other, when I was in control of it, basically our asset manager, and the fact I couldn't get it back yeah. Um, Firefighting says, awesome, glad to hear that I have the same anxiety as you for my son. Do you have a throwaway email address or something for me to send you a list so you can look at them at your leisure? Oh, absolutely. I can here. Let me it's not technically a throwaway email, but I won't give you my strut rugali. I'll give you I'll put it on here, and if somebody else sends me it, so be it. I'm gonna give you this is my more personal email. It's been since I was in high school, so who knows how many people have hacked into it. And I'm gonna type it in Julie's name though, so I sent it in Julie. So you see where it says Juju Fish? That's my significant other. I put it on there in her name because I'm typing on her account on this tablet, so I can see everybody's comments. But Cannabis Podcast, thanks for being in Tom's our 6+ months with the XP Predictor. And also, your content the other day, I think it was 2 days or 3 days ago now, was phenomenal. I encourage everybody to go look at the Cannabis Podcast. He's at about 500, and I want to say it's at 18, I believe, subscribers, the last I seen. But it's moving every day. I noticed the one day it was 502, then it was up to 518 or 516, which is awesome. Getting closer and closer, and it's a slow grind. I get it on YouTube. But yeah, it's unbelievable. Retail sell, crypto pump, retail buy, crypto dump. Yep. If Powell doesn't cut rates, I've already told everybody I'm out of crypto for the very foreseeable future. If he raises rates, that would mean that they're bringing this system to its knees a lot quicker than we thought. But also, we've only got two things that can happen in a time like this, and it's scary: the propagation of a world war, or an unknown event that happens that causes mass chaos and a universal shutdown across the world. So basically, we've got World War III or Project Bluebeam on the table. So which one do you think is going to happen? And I don't want to talk too much about that because I don't want to get in trouble. But I mean, that's what's on the table. So let's go into the total crypto market cap, the total three and others. The total crypto market cap is up by 1/3 of 1%, adding about $10.8 billion this morning to 3.019 trillion. The technical drop down hasn't been fulfilled yet. It's down to 2.53 trillion. If it's going to just come down to where the technical drop was after losing the 347 approximately, that was our technical drop zone. So we haven't hit there yet. Could be putting in a reversal candle. When you come down to these levels, typically in the weekly, you would retest that weekly 200, which is all the way down at 226. But if that happens, you could run the risk of falling all the way to 1.86 trillion. So we've got to pay attention to that with the total crypto market cap. We fell outside of what one could perceive as a rising wedge, and that target initially is 2.53. But what I haven't shown you is the full-fledged this goes to shit and this rising wedge completely breaks down. We've shown it before, but that's how you get down here to that 1.93 approximately. So just be aware that this could be the start of a grand, oh boy. So those are our choices. Do we come down to 253 and hold? Or do we actually play the technical drop to its fullest extent to 1.85? 1.85 is going to be a shit show for crypto if that happens. I would love for it to happen before the 9th and 10th. So yep, that I talked a little bit about that, Frankie Fresh. Not in particular the names, but yeah, definitely talked about the fact that the CFTC is allowing the opening of some of these different style exchanges now, let's just say. Frankie, I hope you and Janine are having a blessed morning. Thank you for being in Time Zone for 6+ months with the XP Predictor, along with Crypto Cooter. Thanks, Crypto Cooter, for being a very trusted mind here in the Telegram. A 25 basis point rate cut is going to be tough. It's not going to be as bad as the last one when we got 25. When I said if we get 25 at that meeting, we're going to dump because everybody already priced in 50 or more, and that was our first rate cut, that initial one, and then we dumped. 25, optically, the fact that we're dumping right now would suggest that 25 would be a minimum. If we can base it on how far this goes. But it should be no less than a 25 basis. But what I need is a 50. We need a 50. If we get a 50, it's going to set the stage for a couple week pump. If we get a 25, it's going to cause nervous energy. Now, coupling it, depending on if he's hawkish or dovish during that meeting on the 10th at about 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If I had to guess, we're not raising rates. Like, there's no way we're raising rates. We're not staying the same. It's not going to work this time. Unless they're trying to dump the market. I think they're aiming for 50. But with what the market is doing right now, it's at least 25. If it dumps down to 185, we're going 50 guaranteed. You would suspect. We got to have some kind of a lure, though, that allows them to do that. Like, is the stock market going to drop a lot to start the week? I don't know. Gold and silver going so much. Like, gold's still, at 4,200 almost. But silver tapped 59 for the first time yesterday. Closed over 58.29, which is a huge close. Is that speaking of something? I don't know yet. I do know if the total crypto market cap, the others, and the total three do what we have set up. Oh, man. I think we're going to get a 50. I think it's setting up for a 50 if this continues. I've said from the beginning, if we dump going into this rate cut, we should get 50. Just like this, we're at the make it or break it line. You could legitimately cut this in half almost on the total three. I don't think we're going to, but we're at that point right now. And I think we should do, because the smaller section suggests I mean, you could. This is across the board. Like, look how total crypto market cap was. How much it could have dumped down. It's no different with this either. We're at that point where if we break structure, I mean, you could get a 35-40% market crash easy. And you know what? I would love to see that. I would love to see all those October 10th wicks fall right through, make a new low, and let's get on with it. Let's get on with the game. Everything is showing this rising wedge for a reason, unless they're rising triangles. But at this point, a lot of them have already broken down and are getting rejected. So, but I don't know. We could get unpredictable Move Cannabis podcast. We really could. It's hard to tell though. It's really hard to tell. Bright future, welcome in. Firefighting, I appreciate you reaching out. Tempa, good morning, and thanks for being in Tom's Armor for your first month with the emoji badge of me being abducted by aliens. Mick Shoot, good morning, thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 3+ months, or over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. Yeah, I need to check out Coinbase Pro. I've been thinking about it. I know my brother, old Vincenzo, uses it. Define Group, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 6 months with the XP Predictor, and also being a very trusted mod in here and in the Telegram. Says, hi everyone, hit that like on the way in. Consider subscribing and joining Tom's Army for the best technical analysis on YouTube. Every day you are not in the Telegram, you are missing out. Why wait? I so very much agree with that. And thank you so much, Define, for your continued incredible effort in trying to push this in the right direction. Trading with J-Ride, thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 4 years with the XRP Phoenix badge. That is an unbelievable level of dedication. Tanya, welcome in, love, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 3 years with the XRP Diamond Hands badge. Give your daughter my love as well. Hope everything's going well. I really, really do. Mrs. Stott, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 3 months with the XP Meteor. So blessed to have you and Aurelia in here as well. Good morning, Aurelia. Gift the sub for Aurelia, which for some reason has never gone to her. So sad. John Allen, welcome in. Glenn Barlow, thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. Mark Caston, good morning, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. Silver Days, welcome in, and good morning to you, friend. Dan Marr, good morning, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 3 months with the XP Meteor, along with Bright Future Freedom. Awesome. We got a great group this morning. Orwell, welcome, and Jay for Mix, good morning to you too as well. Thank you all so much for tuning in this morning. I love it. So that's where we're at there with the total and the total 3. Then after we get through the others, we'll talk about some news and notes with XRP, some of the institutions possibly buying, some of the negative metrics that might be coming out from social perception, yada, yada, yada. I've got them all out already, so I will just go to it after. So the others, as we can see, if we drag this along, if we come down to support, it's going to be around 188.57. Could it drop to 169? It could. Do we want it to? Not necessarily. We don't necessarily want any of this to happen, but if we have this big drop down and we clear out that wick, I would not be opposed to it. I would love to see all these wicks cleared out, but that would put us at about 163. Not sure we go to 130. Well, you never know with the grand perception if we had a drop, but right now I'm still looking for what's going to give us that next drop. I mean, we know we're set up in a little falling channel here. So you could say this almost like a flag pattern, but it's a little channel. And the farther it falls, you know, the less opportunity it has to, I think the farther it falls, the less opportunity it has to break super bearish in this immediate move. It's just the dailies breaking bearish. And I think the dailies are what are telling us we got a problem, especially in the others breaking bearish in the stochastic. And the total 3 breaking bearish in the stochastic broke the trend line. And then total breaking bearish in the stochastic, it broke the trend. Like, that's a bad sign right now. These are all early warning signs that we could have a significant drop here in the short term. But it's also showing us in the weekly that after a drop like this, if it were to play through properly, we could have a historic reversal in a very quick fashion. It's just, this has to play out in the right way. I know it sounds stupid, but this really does have to play out in the right way. 64 likes and 112 people watching. That's just not going to get the job done. If I was giving you 59% effort, you guys would be walking backwards, even though you're supposed to walk through the door straight in front of you. YouTube's not going to know how to promote my channel when less than 60% like the channel. That's just the bottom line. XRP scores new listing on Hong Kong's public listed digital asset platform. OSL, a publicly listed digital asset platform and exchange in Hong Kong, has announced the listing of XRP, the fourth largest cryptocurrency by market capitalization. In an official blog post, OSL Hong Kong announced that XRP is now available on the platform, with its deposits and withdrawals now open. The recent XRP listing expands OSL HK's token lineup, with the token available to professional investors via fresh trade and OTC. 3 XRP pairs are available for trading on the platform Flash Trade, including XRP/HKD. OSL transformed last year into a company fully dedicated to digital assets and completed $300 million of equity financing in July this year. So despite XRP's recent slide, Santiment noted in a recent analysis that its large holders are still holding up in conviction. According to Santiment, while XRP has erased about 32% of its market cap in the last 2 months alone, large investors and funds have continued adding XRP, which suggests that long-term interest has not disappeared. XRP ETFs continue to attract inflows, sustaining their strong post-launch run. XRP funds, including those from Canary Capital, Grayscale, Bitwise, and Franklin Templeton, accounted for a total net inflow of $897.35 million, according to SoSo data. So they're telling you all of this, but what they didn't tell you is what those actual ETFs have done. And good for news for all of you. We track it day by day. So they talked about Canary Capital and all this money flowing in, but what they didn't tell you is for anybody who invested on day one, why would they tell you the real news? They're down in that ETF 20% already. What did I say? Minimum of 20% they come down, but upwards of 60% these come down. We're looking for an entry price around $12, extending down to $10. Yes, I got laughed at when it was at 26, but I know ETFs. And if this plays out like it's supposed to, we should, well, maybe it doesn't come to 10 because how high it was, but it should come way down still. We haven't seen nothing yet. So they talk about the Canary, and then they talk about the other ones. Here's some of the other ones. This was the acquisition. And this topped out somewhere around $1.20. And so far from $1.20, now we're starting to get some kind of reversal. I mean, you're talking it's down 24% from the top. Never buy these when they first become acquired. It's the easiest way to lose your money. I mean, we talked about it when this was way up here. Like, there's no reason. We have no baseline, down 23.5%. So they're not telling you the whole story. Oh, all this money's flowing in. True. There might be money flowing in, but every single person who tried to buy it on this influx or tried to buy it for XRP on this one, it's right here. They tried to buy it on the influx right here. This one's not so bad because it's not moving much. But still, we'll see how it continues to play. Now we're starting to get some kind of baseline, but, so we're seeing push with the ETF, but everybody's losing their ass. They're down 1/4 if they invested in the ETF, especially if they invested in Canary Capital. Yeah, all of them, they all are. They might be pulling in money, but the people who are actually investing, if it's retail, they're getting whitewashed. Imagine you put in 10,000 of these and you got 7,500 left a month later. You're not feeling so good about the ETFs. Santiment highlighted this development as bullish for XRP, noting that even with slower price action, this type of support can help keep XRP from dropping too sharply. At the time of writing, XRP was down 1.83% at 203 and down 8.31% on the weekly. Santiment added that if XRP sees more clarity in regulation and market conditions, it could find stronger footing again. I disagree with that whole analysis. I think when you have stronger regulation and more clarity, the price of crypto has no choice but to go down. You lose the casino-like feel. There's too many regulations. And with all the ETFs, that money finds its way into the stock market where they don't have to worry about the shady exchanges. Imagine in the stock market when you trade, you don't have to pay 14% more because the exchange is ripping you off. I'm just saying, like, think about how it works for us with our tier 1 exchanges in the USA. It's basically Russian roulette. If you're going to get your money back, yeah, if you're losing money, they don't care. They'll let you keep depositing. But once you make significant money, are they going to let you do it? Are they going to freeze your account? Are they going to do some bullshit? I mean, that's why a lot of people who deal with high amounts, aren't doing crypto now. They're doing it in the stock market. I'm just saying. you know? And like a lot of people decide to get asset managers, they get financial advisors that give them the statistical 12 to 17% a year if it's a good year in the market on their rate of return. You don't need a financial advisor, you just need to know the markets. The emerging markets I talk about every single day for free is up annually for the last 2 years, 22% on average per year. The My actual portfolio that I manage myself in my stock market is up 99.99% annually right now since January of this year. So I mean I'm beating the national average by 8 times what a financial advisor is supposed to get you if you're getting the top end. And that's just knowing market fundamentals. That's what I want to teach in the classes, how to understand the right flow in markets. I think oil is going to be our next big play, but we need to see that historic movement where you get that volatility just before the real breakout. So we're waiting for oil. And I'm telling you, we're going to do the same thing we did with gold, silver, and mining stocks. We're going to do it with black oil and the ones that get it out of the ground or explore for it and everything in between. And I can't wait. I've been banking on it for a while. So XRP faces downside risk as social sentiment turns wildly negative. Remember the things we talked about at the start? The turn in crowd mood comes after a 2-month slide of roughly 31%, leaving the token vulnerable to further downside if risk appetite weakens across majors. So XRP slipped toward the $2 mark in early U.S. hours Friday as social sentiment around the token deteriorated sharply with new data from analytics from firm sentiment showing the deepest stretch of bearish commentary since October. The turn and this should have been since January when I went bearish, but nobody wanted to listen. The turn in crowd mood comes after a 2-month slide of roughly 31%, leaving the token vulnerable to further downside if risk appetite weakens across majors. So, major exchanges. But since the top, yeah, we're down 31% in recent times, but we're getting slaughtered since the top. And we had a nice rebound in July to where you could have at least been made whole. Well, for XRP, not everything else. But since the peak, XRP is on about 44%. And I'm still proud of the fact that we went against the grain and I put out this content during the lives and people got pissed at me, but we were right. Why we sold 75% 11 months ago and turned our focus to gold, silver, and mining stocks. That was a big life-altering decision there too, and that definitely helped. Let's see. Sentiment model, which tracks streams of positive and negative social messages against price, shows XRP entering what the firm labels a fear zone, a level where a negative commentary materially outweighs bullish talk. Similar readings earlier in the year have aligned with periods of capitulation from short-term holders, although not all instances have marked durable bottoms. Love that. Love that. The firm noted a parallel with November 21st when a comparable spike in negative messages preceded a brief rebound of about 22% over the following 3 days, before momentum faded. It suggested traders monitor whether sentiment stabilizes or continues to deteriorate. I think that's all bullshit, actually. They can spin it that way, but we all know what it was. There is a historic liquidation of long traders that forced, rebuying of position. You guys know how it works. So that we had an artificial spike up because there was no other choice. We had too much of an imbalance. It was more of an imbalance than what they're talking about here, if I'm being honest. We had an imbalance in price. A shift that often blah, blah, blah. So XRP has held up better than some smaller tokens, but remains sensitive to rapid deleveraging and we want to be delevered. The less people taking leverage, the better. The leverage traders are killing us. We don't want leverage traders. We want less. That kills us. You want spot trading. There's less carry trade. And to unwind the carry trade tied to the U.S. data releases and shifts to global risk appetite. Nothing wrong with that article. So we knocked out that one. We knocked out that one. And then I wanted to knock out this one as well. So institutions, so that you don't have to do it on your own. And then if you have questions, we can talk about it. I appreciate you guys sitting through this and trying to learn a little bit here on this Saturday morning. It's a deep space. Institutions quietly buy 473 million XRP as ETFs rocket to 1 billion AUM. I'm accumulated user money. I don't know how they're instituting it, but why big money is piling in? US spot XRP ETFs master 1 billion as institutions load up despite flat prices, locking over 473 million XRP in vaults. Now, my question is this being given to them? Oh, assets under management. That's it. Assets under management. I like that. Assets under management. Yep. But XRP, you have to ask yourself, are these institutions, are they buying it off the exchange? No. With retail, or were we seeing the redactions from the XRP versus or the Ripple versus SEC lawsuit where it showed the redacted price, but it clearly showed two lines of concern. One was for retail, one was for institutions. The only difference was it never showed us the price that each bought for. So I don't think they're buying this on exchanges, which is why you're not seeing a positive reflection in the price on the exchanges. They're getting it from what I think. Remember how Ripple releases 1 billion a month? They lock up anywhere from 6 to 800 million every month, and then it becomes available publicly. They can release the whole damn thing in December of 28. I think that's what happens here. They unlock it, they send it, they give it to these exchanges. Maybe they just give it to them. It's a business venture. They give them the collateral capital, the promote all this. So this is not from retail. This will be over the counter. This is not like we buy it on an exchange. I guarantee it. XRP trades near $2.02, down about 12.9% in the last 30 days as of writing. Price shows calm, yet institutional demand tells a louder story. U.S. spot XRP ETFs crossed 1 billion in assets under management, marking one of the fastest ETF growth streaks in the digital asset sector. This surge arrived just weeks after launch and has now reshaped market expectations. So if there's 1 billion under management and it's down 25% on average, that means $250 million has been lost so far in the ETFs, if that's the case. But it's $1 billion, guys, not in the crypto exchange. Do we understand it now? This all found its way to the stock market. Okay? By more regulation and clarity will be more money finding its way to the stock market. No one's going to trade this bullshit sector with clarity and regulations when the 99% who followed before us, who were in it for the right reason, were doing it because there was no government overreach and regulation, all this bullshit. How does everybody think that with regulation and clarity, when you're in a sector that was against that from the beginning, it's going to go up and not? I don't understand. Is everybody just on freaking la la land and they just don't understand what this particular venture was for? Apparently not. And every idiot who tells me we already pay with crypto with our cards. No, you don't. No, you don't. All it's doing is selling out your crypto into USD, USDT, your native currency, and you're using that sold out cash on the card to buy. That's not using crypto. You can do the same thing in the stock market. If you had a card, you could sell your asset, and then you could just use the cash that was traded with a debit or Visa card. That's not the same. Me using a crypto Visa debit card is not paying with crypto on crypto.com, despite what people say. I have to sell my crypto into USD for it to load onto the card. So no, you're not. We're not paying with crypto for shit right now. Nothing. Nada. They're telling us Walmart's allowing crypto purchases. Wrong next year. They're allowing you to use a crypto. You can use the debit card. They're not letting you go in. How are you going to go in and just do Bitcoin? You're going to stand in line for 25 minutes? So people are putting out false information. We're not actually paying with shit in the USA for crypto. It's a sneaky way of them tricking us. Remember the XRP crypto card? It's not an XRP card. You're getting rewards in XRP, which is minute because I get the same rewards in CRO with the crypto Visa debit card. Instead of getting 3% on your credit card, you get CRO. Instead of CRO on that card, you get XRP. You're not paying with XRP. It's all bullshit. They lie to us. Why do they have to lie to us? If this was a real entity, why do they consistently lie to us and beat us over the head with fake news? To think we were actually going to have a work around the IRS on government and cryptos wasn't a... Yep. That's what it was supposed to be. But think about it. For everybody who wants to make that zero to hero gain, you can't be in it in the time of regulations. All that happens before... The crypto was a crypto casino for a reason. That's what you want. You don't want oversight. You don't want all of that. We need government regulation. Oh, yeah. Yep. I'm just telling you, be careful what you wish for. I can already see the exit strategy out of this market and into a different sector. We tried to figure out what. I think we figured it out. I think we figured it out. I think we already figured out that precious metals and tying it into miners and then understanding the next chapter with black oil and the exploration companies like Nod and some of the other ones like Murphy's. And there's just a couple different ones we can target. And this whole risk environment, one day we're going to trade this risk environment, but it's not going to be through the crypto exchanges. But the digital age, why does the digital era have to be crypto? You guys aren't paying attention. Peter Schiff, you can call him a shill or not, he's creating tokenized gold. There's your digital payment. You literally can transfer gold to another person or take delivery on it, but use it as a medium of exchange. And it automatically does it priced in gold. If this happens, I mean, what's the point of tokenized Bitcoin? There's none. They call it digital gold, but now you're going to have digital gold. This whole narrative is falling apart. You know, in the beginning, they said it was a store of value. Then they said it was a medium exchange because the store of value doesn't work when gold's going up 100 and something percent. And in the same time, Bitcoin takes a nice fall this entire year. Bitcoin's gone from 126,000 this year down to 89. As to where gold is up over, I mean, it's starting to break the narrative. So now people are looking for a new narrative. Well, you can only come up with so many narratives before the majority say, you know what? This is all bullshit. So what I'm sticking with is XDC because I know what it's for. I'm sticking with Algo because I know what it's for. XRP stays, but by virtue. I keep XRP healthcare when it's cheap, when I can buy it, because I want to do the digital medical stuff, which I know is going to be stronger and stronger as we get into 26 and 7. But who knows? We might not be able to materialize all this because once they go to biometrics, I'm done. I don't care what I own. I don't care how much I think it's going to go to. I'm done. I'm not doing it. The moment that happens, I am out. I'll still come on and cover this stuff, but I am out. I will not do biometrics of any kind. I've never done it on my phone. I don't subscribe to it on my tablet. I will never do it. So, what's this last thing? US spot XRP ETFs now log 15 straight days of net. Who cares? It's stealing money out of the crypto market. Nobody wants to talk about that. See the long short ratio before I leave. And then we'll go into the crypto fear and greed index and just see what's going on. Public perception says 51.06% are going short, 48.94% in the last 24 hours going long on Bitcoin, 32.04 billion is in long trades, and 33.43 billion is in shorts. That means there is a $1.4 billion differential if we take out some shorts, but there's enough longs to where you don't need to. It's sustainable either way. Ethereum, 51.0. Oh, no, it didn't do it yet. I was going to say that looks kind of the same. There we go. Ethereum, 51.57% short, 48.43% long, 24.77 billion on the long side, 26.38 billion on the short. So, I mean, you're talking about another 1.6 billion there for Ethereum, just like Bitcoin. So more people are definitely starting to take out the shorts. Look at it. Look at it. XRP's going the other way too. This is the widest we've seen it in some time. 52.11% going short, 47.89% going long, 1.4 billion long, 1.52 billion short. So you got about $100 billion that you could wipe out of XRP even. I mean, $100 million, sorry. They just won't reveal who they actually are. I don't trust XCN because of the Fudsers who actually did that pump and dump, which I warned everybody about, that it was going to come crashing like a friggin' meteor hitting the earth. And no, we're not talking about 3i Atlas. Uh, so anyhow, short bias since 265. Absolutely. You and me both. Once we got that rejection at 265, we could see the writing on the wall. No doubt about that. That was our make it or break it moment at that level. That was the macro micro flip. We were either going to flip from the micro to the macro field, or we are going to continue down this microcosm of bullshit. Unfortunately, took the microcosm of bullshit. And just like I said, with the fear, with the way people were buying it up when they shouldn't have been, it's telling you everything you need to know. When fear was at extreme fear, it actually dropped the one day when we were in the consolidation. Then the next day when we hit resistance and it had to pull back, it went up. So everybody's on the wrong side of this trade. XCN bought you a new Tacoma because you sold out. I could point to 7,000 different things that could have bought you a new Tacoma when we were in that volatile spike up if you would have sold out. Now, Solar Jeffy, if you wouldn't have sold it and you were just a holder of it right now, it would have bought you a lump of coal for Christmas. Can we at least acknowledge that? Nobody's saying that there's not times of pump and dumps. You better be damn good at what you do, though. Damn good at what you do with some of those tokens. Oh, it is freaking huge, Orwell. Oh, it is. You know? That's going to be the PBB, and I don't mean peanut butter and jelly. I mean, that's going to be the PBB brought into play, probably. It's a project. We like beams of blue light, right? So just think about it. What's that bringing in? Yeah, smash the like buttons. We got up to 93, and there's 111 people still here, so that's pretty damn good. I'm happy about that. The 1 month liquidation I'll look at for XRP, Bitcoin, and Ethereum, and then I'm going to go. My son's taking a nap. He was up with me until, well, he was up all night. 3i Atlas is a big mystery because they should have way better pics of it. They're definitely hiding something big. Yeah, they're hiding something. It doesn't exist. How are they going outside of the, there is no real, I don't want to get into that conspiracy because people are just whatever. But I mean, if you understand scripture, you're not getting past what? So how that can't exist. So this is all, in my opinion, it's going to be a big CGI event is what's going to happen. But yeah, I know they're building something. And now they're starting to say like the tail is made up of many different, almost like spaceships behind it, which means yeah, so I think they're setting it up. And I was skeptical at first until they started to openly put out the spheres in Vegas and Saudi Arabia and Dubai and these places. Now you get the actual spheres, so, and you can see that it's very easily done. I know, Orwell, isn't that insane? The firmament. Yes, the firmament. Thank you. Somebody said the firmament. That's what I'm talking about. Sadly, losing 209 daily close leads me to believe nuke. Yep, I'm fully planning for that $1.77 to $1.82, and at minimum, the fact that all these little areas are showing $1.85 to tap. I mean, I'm not looking very much for the upward pull right now. That was when we made the push up here. We got a clear double top. We can't hide it that at 222 we got a clear double top there, which actually is the right shoulder possibly that would reset the pattern. Now, like MQ said, even if you look at it in the terms of this crypto liquidity map on XRP, the heat liquidity map, it suggests a pattern reset. And look how low this brings us. That brings us all the way down into the zone he just talked about. All-time fear and greed pattern is interesting. Yeah, I still think we need to take out the single digits to be comfortable. But, you know, you never do quite know. I really wanted us to take out, I know on November 15th we hit 10, but I wanted to take out the all-time pattern. And in order to do that, we needed to take out, I think it was 6. Because if you could have cleared this all-time setup, like the all-time, can you show me this date, please? There's no way it was 13. You can see clearly that it was lower than where it was at anyhow. That can't be 13. That's 13. It's pulling up the ones above it. 11, it says there. That's not 11. It was like 6 or 8 or something. I don't know why it won't show me. But yeah, I mean that's where we're at right now. I'd like to see us try to pick up, and if we can somehow get above first layer, would be that stay above 203 where we're at right now. But ultimately, we got to get back. In my opinion, we got to get back above that 211 zone. Anything under 211 is devastating. Anything under 203, you can have a quick crash. So just MQ says I was really hoping we would run up to the 100-day, but time is now against us. It sure is, and we've only got 24. Let's see, until the weekly candle close. We got 24. We only got about 32 hours, 31 hours and 46 minutes until the weekly candle closes. That's going to be brutal. Kramer said no $10 XRP until no shit. See how stupid people are? They do the inverse Kramer thing, but when he says things that are completely unrealistic, like we already know it couldn't hit $10 by the end of the year. There was no possible way XRP was going to 10 by the end of 25. I've been saying it since the beginning of 25. Shut these no-brainers off. Stop letting the false illusion make you make an emotionally terrible decision. Jim Cramer said that because that's what gets the right. Think about it. It's not going to 10. Now everybody pours in and says it's got to be going to 10. Now they become the exit trade. In a sense, they become the carry trade to allow these bigger investors to carry their way out of the crypto market into the stock market and the ETFs. Congratulations, everybody. We were the exit liquidity to get the institutions out of crypto. What do you have to say about yourselves? What if I played that conspiracy theory? We just allowed exit liquidity for 12 months since January when I warned it was this cycle flipping. And we didn't take advantage, some of us, in July when we came back up and actually reaffirmed that positioning that we were going to break down big time. And now we became exit liquidity for a lot of institutions, possibly, and big players to leave this crypto market to go into the ETF side of things. I've often thought about that. I hope it's not true. I do. But yeah, I still think we're in a good position. Just because I talk bearish or whatever, I still think we're fine. We can see the market. The market's not just going to sneak up on us and kick us in the nuts and say we're taking off and you're without us. That's not going to happen. That's why we're here every single day, no matter what. That's why we dedicate our hearts and souls to this. So be blessed, everybody. We'll be back. We'll be back before you know it. Shane, doing great, my friend, and thanks for being in Times over 3+ months with the XP Meteor. Just have conviction. If you're in the market, make sure the market forces you out. But if you're not in the market, make sure it pulls you into the proper positioning. We could very well start breaking up on a thinly traded weekend, but make it force some of these numbers. Make it force it. Because right now we're breaking bearish in the daily, and that is not a good sign. Especially in the stochastic where it's real sensitive. It's a very sensitive indicator. It's like the people of today's world that need safe spaces. The stochastic is a very safe space type of oriented thing.